Finance Philippines for our opening session.
Good morning, APEC colleagues. Welcome to the Philippines and welcome to Bacolod City. To begin our session this morning, we would like to provide our welcome and keynote remarks to Honorable Emmanuel F. Dooc, Insurance Commissioner, Republic of the Philippines.
Thank you, ASEC Habitan. Last night, the good mayor, our host, mentioned that he would be staying at the back to watch over the proceedings of this event and to ensure the success of his hosting. So, our esteemed host, Honorable Mayor Monico Fentebella, and the city government of Bacolod City. No doubt, as the top producer of sugar in our country, Bacolod City is the sweetest place to be in the Philippines. Delegates and guests to this APEC event, welcome to Bacolod and to the Disaster Risk Finance APEC Roadmap for Resilient Economies. I'm glad that we are holding this event today and not on Sunday, Manila time. Otherwise, this hall would be empty and everyone would be glued on their television sets or watching the pay-per-view coverage of the live telecast of the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight. If our national feast, we call him Pambansang Kamao, Manny Pacquiao, loses this mega boxing event, it will be the biggest disaster ever that will hit the Philippines. And it will be more devastating to our nation than Typhoon Yolanda, Typhoon Pablo, and Typhoon Ondoy combined. And furthermore, I learned also last night that our very own host, the Honorable Mayor of the city, who is a known sports aficionado, who even served as the commissioner of the Philippine Sports Commission under two presidents for 8 years, would be flying to Las Vegas to watch the fight personally. Judging from the wide range of interesting topics and the powerhouse speakers, resource persons, and panelists lined up today and tomorrow, this event, no doubt, will be a knockout. The broad theme of this event encompasses two major subjects or concerns which confront every jurisdiction and economy of this region, Asia Pacific: disaster prevention and mitigation, and financial inclusion, where microinsurance is the principal tool in the insurance world. Both the public and private sectors and governments and business alike in the Asia-Pacific region, particularly the small and developing countries and entities, are vulnerable to the onslaught of natural disasters. No country and business are spared from their increasing intensity and growing frequency, although they may be impacted in varying degrees depending on their preparation and readiness. Thus, we are faced with a formidable task as we embark on this two-day conference: how to make our communities and businesses more resilient and sustainable against the risk brought by calamities. Governments and businesses should invest in disaster preparedness and mitigation. Preparedness connotes proactive, not reactive posture, which means we should not wait for disasters to happen before we take action. Resilience is costlier and deadlier after a calamity had wreaked its havoc. The staggering cost impinges on our scarce resources. Funds which could have gone to spur growth and development are instead channeled to urgent relief, repair, and rehabilitation, which disrupt our economic plans. Therefore, it becomes imperative to define a roadmap to build resilient economies around our region. The other half of our program pertains to microinsurance, a subject which is close to my heart as the Insurance Commissioner of the Philippines. Microinsurance is our main tool to achieve financial inclusion. Otherwise stated, how can insurance promote an inclusive economic society? How can we harness our resources to achieve an inclusive growth where every individual can contribute to our national development? How can we provide insurance protection and financial security to all Filipinos, regardless of their economic status in life? Our national experience had shown that microinsurance has offered us solution and hope. When the fury and wrath of Typhoon Yolanda wiped out our communities and caused the death of thousands of our people, hundreds of thousands of households benefited from their microinsurance coverages. While it paid them only measly sums of 5,000 pesos and 10,000 pesos on the average per microinsurance policy, the insurance payments brought them food on their table, clothing on their back, and shelter over their heads. Total benefits of almost 500 million pesos were paid by microinsurers to their poor policy owners and beneficiaries. What is significant is that insurance benefits are not dole-outs, which impair the dignity of the recipients. Benefit payments made under them, paid by premiums derived from honest labor, no matter how meager, preserves a person's honor and leaves his dignity intact. Our success story in implementing our microinsurance program is now widely recognized. According to the study entitled Landscape of Microinsurance in Asia and Oceania, commissioned by Munich Re, the Philippines ranked number 1 in market penetration among the 31 countries surveyed in Asia and Oceania. MI or microinsurance shall remain a major thrust of our insurance program. There will always be a microinsurance initiative, for there will always be poor among us. But the poor should not remain poor forever. As I have earlier pointed out, it's not a sin to be born poor, but it is if you die one. An effective and successful financial inclusion program should lift the poor from poverty. A truly inclusive economic system, which is robust and resilient, should provide economic opportunities, not just for the elite who are few, but for the broad cross-section of our population. Everyone should benefit. No one should be left behind. In our own words, walang iwanan. Ang tunay na adhikain ng microinsurance ay maiangat ang mga nakakaraming mga dukha sa kahirapan. From their vulnerable dwelling places, along the riverbanks, coastlines, flood-prone areas, steep hills, and some even under the bridges. We want to resettle them to safer places with livelihood and social services available. Schools, health centers, playground, market, and other basic facilities which make up a sustainable and resilient community. Defining that roadmap to get there tomorrow is our challenge today. I have no doubt that we shall succeed in this Herculean task. This milestone event is organized under the aegis of APEC, ADB, APEC Business Advisory Council, Asia Pacific Financial Forum, GIZ, Microinsurance Network, Banner Global, Tokyo Marine and Nichido Fire Insurance, and your host, the Philippine government. Let me take this opportunity to thank you all for your leadership and support. With all the resources behind us, we cannot fail. But we need a strong resolve and a political will to meet the challenge. And if I may borrow from the words of my favorite thinker, John Wesley, and let me quote, "Let's do the best we can by all the means we can, to all the people we can, in all the places we can, at all times we can, and as long as ever we can." End of quote. And finally, I submit that each one of us possesses at least one good attribute which can collectively overcome the wars around us. Good day to everyone and welcome. Mabuhay ang mga delegado ng APEC Convention. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Commissioner Dook, for that broad overview of our event today and tomorrow. As you very well know, this event, this working group meeting, is a part of the Philippine government hosting of APEC 2015. And as Commissioner Dook has mentioned, is being jointly organized by the Department of Finance, the APEC Business Advisory Council, and the Asian Development Bank. To continue and to give us his opening remarks, may I call on Dr. Julio Cesar Pareñas, ABAC Delegate to APEC Finance Minister's Process and Senior Advisor, Nomura Securities Company Limited.
Undersecretary Beltran, Assistant Secretary Habitan, Commissioner Dook, Mayor Fuentebella, representatives of our co-organizers from Department of Finance and ADB, collaborators, ladies and gentlemen, friends. On behalf of the APEC Business Advisory Council, let me welcome you to this event. This year, the Philippines, as the chair of APEC, has chosen inclusive and resilient growth as its theme. The Asia-Pacific business sector appreciates the importance of this element of APEC's growth strategy. As you know, since the outbreak of the global financial crisis, governments have undertaken various measures in order to bring the world economy back to the path of strong, sustained, and balanced growth. But it is now clear that without broader access to finance, especially of micro, small, and medium enterprises, we cannot really reach that path and stay there. APEC strongly supports this direction, and our Finance and Economics Working Group is keen to support the Philippines Department of Finance in whatever way we can to make this year a year of fruitful and significant APEC initiatives. The topic of this seminar is a very important element of inclusive growth. Insurance, as the Commissioner knows, tends to be an underappreciated part of the financial sector because many people only realize its importance after they experience disaster. And yet we know that unfortunate events are an inescapable part of our lives. We also know that in this modern world of supply chains, they can have severe consequences that affect the global economy. The March 11 earthquake and tsunami in Japan and the flooding in Thailand a few years ago have clearly demonstrated this. Empowering small and medium and micro enterprises and deepening supply chains to reach the agricultural hinterlands and peripheries of APEC economies require measures to promote resilience against unexpected events and disasters. And microinsurance and disaster risk finance are tools that will be as important for the region's sustained economic growth as they are for the personal lives of people living in exposed and vulnerable communities. And due to these reasons, the APEC Business Advisory Council supports the Department of Finance initiative to include these in the Cebu Action Plan. We have in the Finance Minister's process a platform that brings together public and private sector and experts from multilateral and academic as well as development institutions to accelerate reforms that can facilitate the growth of our region's financial markets and services. This platform, the Asia Pacific Financial Forum, or APFF, now involves around 300 experts from over 150 leading global firms and institutions in the region. They are collaborating in 6 work streams to help expand SMEs' access to finance, accelerate the growth of deep and liquid capital markets, and develop our region's long-term investor base. One of these work streams deals with insurance and retirement income, counting among its collaborators a number of leading insurance companies and pension funds in the Asia Pacific, as well as multilateral institutions. This work stream has also decided to set up its microinsurance and disaster risk finance substream. So I am especially thankful to Doug Barnett of Barnett Global and Masaki Nagamura and his colleagues at Tokyo Marine, who have volunteered to develop the APFF's work on microinsurance and DRF, and especially for reaching out to several key institutions to collaborate with us, and particularly the Microinsurance Network and GIZ, represented here by Michael McCord and Veronique Faber, and by Dante Portula, respectively, who have generously contributed their time in helping us find and engage very eminent experts in the field to enrich the seminar. Our appreciation also goes to our multilateral partners, including ADB, our co-organizer for this seminar, as well as to the IMF, the OECD, and the World Bank for agreeing to share with us their deep knowledge and expertise. And of course, we thank all the speakers and session chairs for taking some of their valuable time to join us here. My colleagues in ABAC and APFF are very grateful to the Department of Finance for giving us this opportunity to collaborate in this initiative and in other initiatives of the APEC Finance Minister's process this year. We firmly believe that through the close collaboration among public and private sectors and the relevant multilateral development and academic institutions, we can set the stage through the Cebu Action Plan for the acceleration of reforms that will enable our financial markets and services to support a vibrant and resilient Asia-Pacific economy. So with this, let me thank you once again, and on behalf of APEC, let me wish us all a successful and fruitful seminar. Thank you.
Our final speaker for the opening session is Mr. Arup Chatterjee, Principal Financial Sector Specialist, Asian Development Bank.
Undersecretary Beltran, Assistant Secretary Habitan, Commissioner Duke, distinguished APEC delegates, partners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of ADB, I would like to thank the Government of Philippines for hosting this important seminar on disaster risk financing, APEC roadmap on resilient economies. I would also like to thank the citizens of the Bacolod city for their warm hospitality, and we experienced it yesterday evening. We meet today just days after the groundbreaking earthquake in Nepal. Destruction and damage has been widespread. Some of us were supposed to travel there this week, and some were supposed to travel in the week after. We would, on behalf of ADB, would like to convey our deepest condolences and sympathies to the people of Nepal, and also like to extend ADB's strong commitment and solidarity. Whatever we will be discussing here today is very real for millions around the world. Our thoughts are with the disaster victims, and our best possible tribute will be to make this conference a great success, because disaster can strike anywhere, at any time, in any part of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time to respond to the world's growing needs by empowering individuals, supporting communities, and backing promises with resources. And that's why we are all gathered here today. We all know that climate change is intensifying the risks for hundreds and millions of people, particularly in the landlocked and the small island developing countries with vast coast areas. 9 out of 10 disaster fatalities are in the low and middle income countries. We must especially help the poorest and the most vulnerable people, and microinsurance is an innovative tool. Today, for managing disasters through microinsurance, Philippines offers great lessons, and as Commissioner Duke has just mentioned in his welcome remarks, microinsurance works in the Philippines. So that is a takeaway for all of us. In this globalized economy, our world is smaller than ever. An earthquake in one country shakes up financial markets in another, something which JC just mentioned. Tropical cyclones in one region can cause economic turbulence in another. And therefore, disaster risk financing offers that toolbox of armaments or instruments, whatever you'd like to call, to defend against the adverse impact of climate change. It is a smart option for governments and a wise investment for business and households to strengthen resilience and offset the impact of natural disasters. The global annual price tag in damage exceeds more than 300 billion. We can watch the number grow as more people suffer, or we can dramatically lower that figure and invest savings in development. Disaster risk financing must be considered in future decision-making and also in the financing process. A recent Lloyd study carried out in 2012 for 5 select countries shows that a 1% increase in insurance penetration can result in a 13% reduction in uninsured losses and an increased investment of 2% of GDP and a reduction of taxpayers' burden by 22%. So that's the benefit which disaster risk financing and insurance can bring. So therefore, insurers have a critical role to play in providing financial protection and in using premium as a signal of exposure for both individuals and business. Risk modeling can help augment capacity. It can also help us in estimating the affordability of insurance premiums for households and also determine the gap between the charge premium which is charged today versus a risk-based premium. So we need to look at things in various facets, and this is what we will be discussing during the next 1.5 days. Finally, resilience is just not a matter of strong buildings and adherence to building codes that withstand earthquakes. You must have heard or read in recent articles about how things would have been better if there were better building codes in Nepal or even in Philippines or India or somewhere else. True resilience comes from strong bonds amongst countries and communities, something which is always demonstrated after the disaster strikes. That is why we are meeting here today in Bacolod city to translate crisis into opportunity. That was the theme of one of the dances yesterday. ADB is committed to strengthening these bonds. Let us act in a spirit of global solidarity and make this world safer and prosperous for all. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin our first session, may we ask all our delegates to please come to the platform for the family photo. Our organizing committee will assist you in settling for the photo session. Thank you. Again, may we ask all our delegates to please come to the platform for the family photo. Thank you.
Okay na?